you're about to experience for yourself just how quickly and easily you can learn Spanish, even if you're starting from zero today. And as not all of you will be complete beginners, I've included a section for non-beginners. And if that applies to you, you can skip forward to the time code that's coming up on the screen now, or better still, stay with us for some extra practice. Welcome to ProSpanish. Okay, so looking at my board, and don't worry, you're going to learn an awful lot more than what you can see right now. So let's look at un poco más. Un poco más, a bit more, or a little more, we could say. Very useful phrase. So, un poco is a bit, más is more, a bit more. What do you think it means if I say un poco más romántico? You might want somebody to be un poco más romántico. Yeah, a bit more romantic. Or it could be un poco más práctico, a bit more practical. Yeah, práctico, practical. And we can take un poco más, we can take this part. So, as I said before, un poco is a bit, and más is more. How would you say more practical? Yeah, más práctico. Más práctico, more practical. Now the word for it's is very straightforward. It's es. Es. So what does it mean if I say es romántico? Yeah, it's romantic. How about es más romántico? Yeah, it's more romantic. How would you say it's a bit more practical? What would that be? Es un poco más práctico. Es un poco más práctico. And you might have heard the word grande. Grande. Doesn't matter if you haven't, this could be your first lesson. Grande is big. So think of grand being big. Grande, big. And so how would you say it's big? Yeah, es grande. Es grande. And if you want to ask the question, is it big? It's just the same. So in Spanish, the question is the same as the statement. We can say it's romantic, or ask the question, is it romantic? So we can say es romántico, it's romantic. Or we can ask the question, ¿es romántico? ¿Es romántico? So we could have this. ¿Es natural? Very guessable. Yeah, it's natural. Es natural. How would you ask, is it natural? So, for example, an orange juice. Is it natural? What would that be? ¿Es natural? ¿Es natural? Is it natural? And by the way, this way of building up your conversational language without overloading you with lots of abstract explanations is a key feature that runs throughout my ProSpanish Levels 1 to 6 course. Going back to big, do you remember grand? How would you say, is it big? Es grande? Es grande? And maybe you're trying something on and you ask, is it a bit big? Is it a bit big? What would that be? Or is it a little big? Es un poco grande? Es un poco grande? Okay, let's move along to the next one. Busco algo. So busco algo, I'm looking for something. Busco is either I look for or I'm looking for. And we'll use it here as I'm looking for algo, something. Busco algo. I'm looking for something. How would you say, I'm looking for something romantic? Busco algo romántico. Busco algo romántico. Let's use a bit more. How about, I'm looking for something a bit more romantic. What would that be? Busco algo un poco más romántico. Busco algo un poco más romántico. And something that rhymes with romántico, but they don't always go hand in hand, is económico. Económico. So económico, economical, but also used to mean not very expensive. So a good price. So cheap or inexpensive. How would you say, I'm looking for something a bit more inexpensive, or I'm looking for something a bit cheaper? What would that be? Busco algo un poco más económico. Busco algo un poco más económico. And going back to big, grande, how would you say more big? Yes, más grande. But of course, we wouldn't say more big, we would say bigger. So bigger is más grande. How would you say, I'm looking for something a bit bigger? Busco algo un poco más grande. Busco algo un poco más grande. And knowing this kind of language means that there's so much that you can guess when you're put on the spot. So you might go into a shop and somebody might ask you, ¿Buscas algo en particular? ¿Buscas algo en particular? And although you might not automatically know that buscas, which ends in an AS, means you, are you looking for? The fact that it's a question directed at you and you know that busco is I'm looking for, you can guess buscas algo en particular is are you looking for something in particular? And we'll just take a quick pause here while I mention my very popular Levels 1 to 6 course. This takes the complete beginner or near beginner right up to a conversational level of Spanish in a series of very easy to follow steps. Now, all the lessons on this YouTube channel are supplementary, whereas the core Levels 1 to 6 is very much a step-by-step program delivered by me, the same teacher as all the other videos on this channel. And while the style is very similar to what you'll be used to from these videos on the channel, the key difference is that every lesson carefully builds on the previous lessons so that you can really feel that progress of going from little or no Spanish up to a level where you can confidently hold a conversation in Spanish. And that course download is available exclusively from prospanish.co.uk. Okay, move along to the next one. Salir. Salir means to leave or to go out. And it's easy to remember because we think of to sally forth, to salir forth, to go out. And if you go out from somewhere, then you leave somewhere. So they're pretty much the same thing. Salir. How would you say to go out more? What would that be? To go out more. Salir más. Salir más. How about it's romantic to go out? Obviously the sentence could carry on with when it's romantic to go out. How would you just say it's romantic to go out? Es romántico salir. Es romántico salir. You might say, es romántico salir en París. It's romantic to go out in Paris. Okay, let's add I want. Quiero. So I want is quiero. The QU always like a K in Spanish, never a qu. So quiero, I want. How would you say I want more? we would probably say, I want some more, I want some more, but in Spanish they don't tend to use the some or any like that. So it would just be, I want more. How would you say that? Quiero más. Quiero más. How about, I want a bit more? What would that be? Quiero un poco más. Quiero un poco más. How about, I want something more economical? So basically, I want something cheaper. What would that be? So I want something more economical. Quiero algo más económico. Quiero algo más económico. Let's put it together now with to go out, to salir forth. How would you say, I want to go out? Quiero salir. Quiero salir. How about, I want to go out a bit more? Quiero salir un poco más. Quiero salir un poco más. And this would be a good time to bring in late, tarde, so the next one along. So tarde is late. How would you say later, as in more late? Más tarde, later. How about a bit later? What would that be? Un poco más tarde. Un poco más tarde. How would you say, I want to leave a bit later? What would that be? Quiero salir un poco más tarde. Quiero salir un poco más tarde. And how would you say it's late? Well, actually, let's make it slightly longer and say, it's late. I want to go out. What would that be? Es tarde. Quiero salir. Es tarde. Quiero salir. And our next word, comer. Comer, to eat. How would you say, I want to eat something? Quiero comer algo. Quiero comer algo. How about, I want to eat something a bit more natural? What would that be? Quiero comer algo un poco más natural. Quiero comer algo un poco más natural. And let's go back to late, tarde. How would you say, I want to eat a bit later? Quiero comer un poco más tarde. Quiero comer un poco más tarde. And what do you think it means if I say, no quiero comer tarde? No quiero comer tarde. What does that mean? Yeah, no quiero is I don't want. I don't want to eat late. No quiero comer tarde. How would you say, I don't want to go out? No quiero salir. No quiero salir. Now, if we look at the next one, you can see that it looks very similar to I want. Quiero. It looks very similar. Just the ending is different. Instead of ending in an O, it ends in ES. Quieres. And quieres is you want, or the question, do you want? It's just the same. You want or do you want? ¿Quieres? What does it mean if I ask someone, ¿Quieres café? ¿Quieres café? Do you want coffee? Or do you want some coffee? Again, there's that some that we use in English that's not really used in Spanish. So do you want some coffee? It's just, do you want coffee? ¿Quieres café? And what about if you want to ask someone, do you want something? How would you ask that? Do you want something? ¿Quieres algo? ¿Quieres algo? And in a shop, you will very often hear, this is very common, ¿Quieres algo más? ¿Quieres algo más? Do you want something more or anything more? And in English, we would translate that as, do you want anything else? Would you like anything else? So, ¿Quieres algo más? A very common expression to say, do you want anything else? How would you ask, do you want to eat something? ¿Quieres comer algo? ¿Quieres comer algo? And how would you ask, do you want to eat later? So do you want to eat more late? And I'm saying, do you want? Because that's the best translation. But actually, this also doubles up as would you like. So think of it as do you want or would you like? It's equally polite. So, would you like to or do you want to eat later? What would that be? ¿Quieres comer más tarde? ¿Quieres comer más tarde? And how would you just ask? Would you like a bit more? Or would you like a little more? What would that be? ¿Quieres un poco más? ¿Quieres un poco más? So after just 15 minutes, you can already see how quickly and easily you can build up everyday natural Spanish. And just before we move on to the part of the video for non-beginners, another reminder that my ProSpanish Levels 1 to 6 course is only available for download from prospanish.co.uk. Okay, and now on to the part of the video for non-beginners. So this content is going to be quite different from what we covered earlier. So let's just go through a bit of the vocabulary first of all. So in our first column, we've got llámame. So llámame, call me. Llama, from llamar to call. Llámame, call me. Avísame. Avísame is the best way of translating let me know. So like advise me. Let me know. Avísame. Hazlo is do it. So it's the imperative form, the command form of hacer, to do. Hazlo. And that's the pronunciation in European Spanish. And of course, in Latin America, that Z is pronounced like a S, an S. So hazlo. So hazlo or hazlo. Do it. And then, mándame un mensaje. Send me a message. Or message me. And then in the second column, nice and easy, cuando is when, and en cuanto, as soon as. And then our verbs in the third column. Well, we're going to use you. So call me when you, whatever. And if you're doing this part of the video, I'm assuming you know the basic verb endings. So for you, in the present tense, ending in as or es. So you arrive, llegas, you can, puedes, you eat, comes, you go out, sales, etc. And those endings would be fine if we weren't referring to something in the future. So when I say, call me when, whatever that when is in the future. Call me when you get there. Call me when you see him. Call me when you come back. All of those things are at some point in the future. And the same with as soon as. Call me as soon as you can. That's referring to the future. And for example, if we weren't referring to the future, for example, our sentence using when might be, he calls me when he gets there. Or, I always let you know when I leave. And in those examples, we're not referring to the future, we're just referring to everyday present. And in which case, it'd be completely fine to use the normal present tense. Llegas, sales, etc. But what we have now in front of us all refers to something in the future. And for this, we need the subjunctive, the present subjunctive. And if you've been watching the last few videos, you'll know that we've been ticking off the use cases of the subjunctive rather than getting bogged down in lots of abstract explanations. Okay, so let's have a look at our verbs in the third column. So we've got you arrive, llegues, you go out, salgas, etc. A quick reminder of how this is formed. For more in-depth description, then see one of the earlier videos. So for just the ending, it's basically flipped. So the ones that would normally end in es in the subjunctive end in as, and vice versa. So normally you would have llegas for the indicative, the normal present tense you. So we flip it with the other ending so that it's llegues. And then looking at salgas, that reminds us that we need to use the root, so the first part of the verb, the root from the first person, from I. So if I is irregular, so let's say it's a go verb, then that will be the root, whether you're talking about I, he, she, etc. So salgo is I go out, so the root is salg, and then we add our ending and we have salgas. So we'll try a few where I say the Spanish and you have to work out the meaning. What does this mean? Llámame en cuanto puedas. Llámame en cuanto puedas. Call me as soon as you can. How about hazlo cuando quieras. Hazlo cuando quieras. Do it when you want, or whenever you want. Do it when you want. How about message me as soon as you leave? What would that be? Mándame un mensaje en cuanto salgas. Mándame un mensaje en cuanto salgas. How about avísame cuando termines. Avísame cuando termines. Let me know when you finish. Okay, we'll switch around now and you can do the speaking. How would you say, do it as soon as you come back? Hazlo en cuanto vuelvas. O hazlo en cuanto vuelvas. How about message me when you arrive? We might say message me when you get there. Mándame un mensaje cuando llegues. Mándame un mensaje cuando llegues. How about, let me know as soon as you can. Avísame en cuanto puedas. Avísame en cuanto puedas. How about, call me when you leave. Llámame cuando salgas. Llámame cuando salgas. And to get to he, she, or it, we just drop the S. So he or she arrives, present subjunctive, llegue, salga, pueda, etc. So how would you say, call me as soon as he finishes? Llámame en cuanto termine. Llámame en cuanto termine. And how would you say, send me a message when he gets there or when he arrives? Mándame un mensaje cuando llegue. Mándame un mensaje cuando llegue. How about, let me know when she goes out or when she leaves. Avísame cuando salga. Avísame cuando salga. And that concludes today's video. As mentioned earlier, my ProSpanish Levels 1 to 6 course is available exclusively from prospanish.co.uk.